The evening sun cast long shadows through the apple trees, painting our orchard in stripes of gold and darkness. I was heading back to the house after checking on the new saplings when I heard voices drifting from Grant's study window. My husband's tone made me pause. There was an edge to it I hadn't heard in our 40 years of marriage. "We can't wait any longer, Caleb. The bank's breathing down our necks." "Dad, there has to be another way." Our son's voice cracked. "What you're suggesting? Mom would never forgive us." I pressed myself against the cool brick wall, my heart thundering. Through the gap in the curtains, I could see Grant pacing, running his fingers through his silver hair the way he always did when he was scheming. "Your mother doesn't need to know. Neither does Aurora." Grant stopped pacing. "The insurance policy is ironclad. Once it's done, we'll have enough to save everything. The orchard, your house, all of it." My fingers dug into the rough bark of the nearest tree. Insurance policy? I hadn't signed anything recently. But using Mom and Aurora as. "Keep your voice down," Grant snapped. "Look, son, sometimes being a man means making hard choices to protect your family. You want to keep this legacy alive for Aurora, don't you?" The silence that followed felt like a physical weight on my chest. Finally, Caleb spoke, his voice barely above a whisper. "When?" 2 weeks. "I've already made the arrangements." I forced myself to breathe slowly, fighting the urge to burst through the door and confront them. Instead, I pushed away from the wall and walked to the garden shed, my legs trembling. Inside, I gripped the workbench until my knuckles turned white. The screen door slammed, and I watched through the dusty window as Caleb hurried to his car. His shoulders were hunched, head down, the same posture he'd had as a teenager when he was hiding something. That evening, I moved through dinner preparation like a sleepwalker. Grant came up behind me as I chopped vegetables, wrapping his arms around my waist like he had thousands of times before. "Something smells wonderful," he murmured, kissing my neck. I nearly cut myself, fighting the urge to pull away. "Just trying something new with the chicken." My voice sounded strange to my own ears. "You okay, sweetheart? You seem tense." I turned and forced a smile, studying the face I thought I knew so well. The crow's feet around his eyes, the dimple in his left cheek, the scar above his eyebrow from a childhood accident, all suddenly seemed like the features of a stranger. "Just tired. The new saplings needed extra attention today." He nodded, accepting the lie as easily as I had accepted his presence in my life all these years. "Why don't you let me finish up here? You should rest. Actually, I think I'll call Miriam. She mentioned having some extra mason jars for the preserves." As I walked to the phone, Aurora burst through the front door, her school backpack bouncing. "Grandma, I got an A on my science project." I hugged her tight, breathing in the scent of sunshine and strawberry shampoo. Over her head, I caught Grant watching us, his expression unreadable. "That's wonderful, sweetheart," I said, my voice steady despite the fear coursing through me. "Why don't you tell me all about it while I make a quick phone call?" I needed to talk to Miriam. I needed help, because whatever Grant and Caleb were planning, they'd made one crucial mistake. They'd threatened not just me, but my granddaughter. And that was something I couldn't let stand. Miriam's kitchen always smelled of coffee and fresh herbs, a comforting constant in my increasingly unstable world. She listened without interrupting as I described the conversation I'd overheard, her weathered hands wrapped around her mug. "Have you checked the office safe?" she asked finally. I shook my head. Grant changed the combination last month. Said it was routine security. Routine, my foot. Miriam set her mug down with a sharp click. "You need to get in there, Evelyn. Whatever they're planning, the proof will be in those papers." The next morning, I watched Grant and Caleb through the kitchen window as they walked the orchard's eastern border. Their heads were bent close, shoulders tense. When they returned for breakfast, the tension followed them inside like a storm cloud. "The irrigation system's shot," Caleb announced, dropping into his chair. "Another 5,000 we don't have." Grant's jaw tightened. "We'll figure something out." "That's what you always say, Dad." Caleb's voice had an edge I'd never heard before. "But maybe it's time to accept." "Enough." Grant cut him off with a look that made Caleb shrink back into his chair, just like when he was a boy. I set plates of eggs and toast in front of them, my hands steady despite my racing heart. "Where's Lila this morning?" "Working." Caleb stabbed at his eggs. "Always working." The bitterness in his voice made me pause. "Everything okay between you two?" "Just peachy." He pushed his plate away. "I should go. Aurora's got soccer practice later." After he left, Grant lingered over his coffee, watching me clean up. "You're awful quiet this morning. Just thinking about the orchard." I kept my back to him, scrubbing a pan that was already clean. "Maybe we should consider selling some of the back acreage." The silence that followed was heavy. When Grant finally spoke, his voice was carefully controlled. That land's been in my family for generations. We're not selling, even if it means saving the rest. I said no, Evelyn. His chair scraped against the floor as he stood. I've got it handled. Later that afternoon, I drove to Caleb and Lila's house, hoping to catch my daughter-in-law before she left for work. Instead, I found Aurora alone in the driveway, bouncing a soccer ball. "Where's your mom, sweetheart?" "Inside, talking to someone." Aurora caught the ball. She's using her angry voice. Through the open window, I could hear Lila pacing, her heels clicking on the hardwood floors. "I don't care what Caleb promised his father." "No, you listen to me. I didn't marry into this family to watch everything go down in flames." "Yes, I know about the insurance policy. We need to move faster." My blood ran cold. Lila was involved too. Aurora's ball hit the side of the house with a thud. "Grandma, you look funny." I forced a smile. "Just remembered something I need to do. Come on, I'll drop you at practice." That evening, I waited until Grant was in the shower before trying his office. The safe was hidden behind a painting of the orchard in its early days. My fingers trembled as I input the old combination, our wedding date, on a hunch. It worked. Inside, beneath stacks of deed papers and tax documents, I found a manila envelope. My heart nearly stopped when I saw what was inside. 2 life insurance policies, one for me and one for Aurora, both for substantial amounts. And beneath them, a handwritten note in Grant's familiar scrawl. "Final arrangements made. M confirms no trace. 2 weeks max." The shower stopped running upstairs. I quickly replaced everything and shut the safe, my mind racing. Whatever they were planning would happen soon. I had to protect Aurora, but I couldn't trust anyone, not Grant, not Caleb, not even Lila. As I left the office, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "I know what they're planning. Meet me tomorrow. Come alone." The diner on Route 7 was nearly empty when I arrived, my hands still shaking from the text message. A woman sat alone in a corner booth, her dark hair pulled back severely from her face. My breath caught when she turned. It was Marcus & Sons Insurance, the company letterhead I'd seen on those policies in Grant's safe. "Mrs. Harper." She gestured to the seat across from her. "I'm Rebecca Thorne. I handle your husband's accounts." I slid into the booth, studying her carefully pressed suit, her perfectly manicured nails. "You sent the text. Your husband made some concerning changes to your policies last month." She pulled out a manila folder. Normally, I wouldn't get involved, but when I saw the beneficiary arrangements and the rush order. The waitress appeared with coffee. I waited until she left before asking, "What beneficiary arrangements?" "Your policy now lists Grant as the sole beneficiary, with Caleb as secondary." "But Aurora's?" She hesitated. "Aurora's lists only Grant. Caleb and Lila were explicitly excluded." My coffee cup clattered against its saucer. "That's impossible. Lila would never." "There's more." Rebecca lowered her voice. "The policies were changed to include coverage for accidental death during transportation. Specifically, water-related incidents. The Orchard's lake. Grant had been insisting on taking Aurora fishing there next weekend. "I have to go." I stood so quickly my hip caught the table, sloshing coffee across the folder. "Mrs. Harper." Rebecca grabbed my wrist. "There's a name you should know, Michael Chin. He's a private investigator who specializes in insurance fraud. Here's his card." At home, I found Lila waiting in the kitchen, her designer handbag perched on our worn counter like an exotic bird. "We need to talk," she said, her voice brittle. "About Aurora. I know about the insurance policies." The words burst out before I could stop them. Lila's face drained of color. "You don't understand. Caleb's in trouble, deep trouble. Grant promised if we helped him." "Helped him what? Kill me and my granddaughter?" "No." Lila's composure cracked. "It wasn't supposed to be like this. Grant said he had a plan to save the orchard, to save all of us. But now," she wrapped her arms around herself, "Caleb's changed. He's not sleeping, barely eating. Yesterday I found him researching boat accidents on his laptop. My legs wouldn't hold me anymore. I sank into a chair. "Why didn't you come to me sooner?" "Because I'm leaving him." Tears spilled down her cheeks. "I'm taking Aurora and getting out before." She stopped abruptly as footsteps approached the kitchen. Grant appeared in the doorway, his easy smile freezing when he saw us. "What's going on here?" "Just girl talk," Lila said quickly, wiping her eyes. "Wedding anniversary coming up. Wanted Evelyn's advice on a gift for Caleb." "Your anniversary's not for months," Grant said slowly, his eyes moving between us. "Early planning." Lila grabbed her bag. "I should go." Aurora will be home soon. After she left, Grant lingered, watching me put away dishes. Everything okay, sweetheart? You seem distracted lately. I thought of the insurance agent's card burning a hole in my pocket, of Lila's tears, of Aurora's bright smile. Just worried about the orchard. I lied. You know how I get this time of year. He came up behind me, his hands settling on my shoulders. Once his touch had meant safety. Now it felt like a trap closing in. Trust me, he murmured, kissing my neck. Everything's going to work out fine. Why don't you and Aurora come fishing with me this weekend? Like old times. I forced myself to lean back against him, fighting the urge to run. That sounds perfect. But as I stood there in my husband's embrace, I was already planning how to get Aurora as far away from this orchard and its lake as possible. Michael Chen's office smelled of leather and coffee, with case files stacked neatly on every surface. He studied the insurance documents spread across his desk, occasionally making notes in precise handwriting. Your husband's clever, he said finally. The policies are legitimate, but the way they're structured. He tapped his pen against a highlighted clause. It's designed to look like an accident. The payout would be triple if both deaths occurred during the same incident. My hands clenched in my lap. Both deaths. There's something else. He pulled out a bank statement. Your orchard's been losing money for years, but there are regular deposits from an offshore account. Small amounts, under reporting thresholds. They started around the time your son's construction business failed. Grant's been laundering money? Through the orchard, yes. But the deposits stopped 2 months ago. He leaned forward. Right when the insurance policies were modified, a knock at the door made us both jump. Chen's assistant entered with a folder. The background check you requested on Grant Harper, sir. What I saw inside shattered everything I thought I knew about my husband. 3 previous marriages, all ended with suspicious accidents. 2 wives had drowned. I barely made it to the bathroom before getting sick. When I returned home, Aurora was sitting on our porch steps crying. My heart stopped until I saw she was physically unhurt. What's wrong, sweetheart? Mom and Dad were fighting again. She wiped her eyes. Dad said something about Grandpa Grant being dangerous, and Mom said we have to leave. But I don't want to leave the orchard. I sat beside her, pulling her close. Sometimes grown-ups say things they don't mean when they're upset. But Mom already packed our bags. They're in her car trunk. Before I could respond, Grant's truck roared up the driveway. He got out, slamming the door so hard the truck shook. Aurora, go inside and wash up for dinner, I said quickly. Grant watched her go, his face darkening. Lila called. Says she's taking Aurora to her sister's for a while. His voice was carefully controlled. Did you know about this? No. The lie felt like acid on my tongue. When? Doesn't matter. They're not going anywhere. He stepped closer, and for the first time in our marriage, I felt afraid of him. This family stays together, Evelyn. Whatever it takes. The fishing trip, I said suddenly. Maybe we should postpone. Absolutely not. His hand gripped my arm, gentle but firm. It's tradition. Besides, I've already arranged everything. That night, I waited until Grant was asleep before slipping out to call Lila. We have to move faster, I whispered. Get Aurora and go tonight. I'll meet you. It's too late, Lila cut in, her voice shaking. Caleb found the bags. He called Grant. They're watching us now. She lowered her voice further. Grant showed up an hour ago. He said if I try to leave with Aurora, he'll make sure Caleb goes to prison for the money laundering. He has proof. Listen to me carefully, I said, my mind racing. Tomorrow morning, take Aurora to school as usual. I'll handle the rest. After hanging up, I stood in the dark kitchen, watching the moonlight cast shadows through the apple trees. Somewhere in the distance, an owl called, and I remembered something my mother used to say. Sometimes you have to burn it all down to save what matters most. I went to Grant's study and opened his laptop. It was time to send some very interesting financial records to the FBI. The FBI agent's email arrived at dawn. Evidence received. Investigation pending. Maintain normal routine. I deleted it just as Grant's footsteps creaked overhead. My hands shook as I started the coffee, wondering if this would be our last normal morning together. Grant appeared in his fishing clothes, checking his phone. Caleb's bringing Aurora by early. Says Lila's not feeling well. Maybe we should postpone. I kept my voice casual, pouring his coffee. If Lila's sick. She's fine. His tone hardened. Everything's set for today. Don't make this difficult, Evelyn. The morning sun caught his wedding ring as he reached for the cup, and I remembered the day I'd placed it on his finger. How many other wives had done the same before their accidents? Caleb's truck pulled up, Aurora bouncing out with her pink fishing vest. Grant went to help with the tackle boxes, leaving me alone with our son. "Dad seems different," Caleb whispered, watching through the window. "Last night, he was in his office for hours, shredding papers. When I asked about it, he just stared at me like I wasn't even his son. Where's Lila really?" His face crumpled. "Gone. She left a note saying she couldn't watch what was about to happen." "Mom, what's going on?" Before I could answer, Aurora burst in. "Grandma, look what Dad bought me." She held up a new Life jacket, bright yellow against her dark hair. "Beautiful, sweetheart." My voice nearly broke. "Why don't you help Grandpa load the truck? I need to talk to your dad." Once she was gone, I gripped Caleb's arm. "Listen carefully. In exactly 1 hour, call the sheriff. Tell them to check the lake. Tell them." Grant appeared in the doorway. "Ready to go?" The drive to the lake was endless. Aurora chatted about school while I watched Grant's hands on the steering wheel, wondering how many times they'd guided a boat to disaster. At the dock, he insisted on loading everything himself, positioning the cooler and tackle boxes with precise care. "Perfect day for fishing," he said, helping Aurora aboard. "Water's calm as glass." I stepped onto the boat, my heart pounding. The lake stretched before us, dark and deep. Grant started the motor, and I saw him check his watch. "Caleb not coming?" I asked. "He'll join us later." Grant's smile didn't reach his eyes. "Let's head to the deep spot first. Better fishing there." We were halfway across when Grant's phone buzzed. His face darkened as he read the message. "Evelyn," he said quietly. "Did you contact the FBI?" Aurora looked up from her fishing rod, sensing the tension. Grant's hand tightened on the throttle. "I know about the other wives," I said. "About the money laundering. It's over, Grant." He laughed, but it was a hollow sound. "Over? Look around, Evelyn. We're in the middle of a lake. No witnesses. Just like before." "Grandpa." Aurora's voice trembled. "The sheriff is coming," I said. "Caleb called them 20 minutes ago." Grant's face contorted. He reached for something under the cooler, a heavy wrench that glinted in the morning sun. "I built this life," he snarled. "Everything I did was for the family. I won't let you destroy it." He lunged forward just as sirens wailed in the distance. Aurora screamed. I grabbed her, shielding her with my body as Grant swung the wrench. But his foot caught on a tackle box and he stumbled. The boat lurched. The last thing I saw was his face, twisted with rage and disbelief, as he toppled backward into the dark water. Aurora clung to me, sobbing, as police boats roared toward us across the glass-smooth lake. Above us, an eagle circled, free and watchful in the morning sky. The sheriff's station felt too bright, too sterile. Aurora slept on the bench beside me, her fishing vest still damp, while I answered endless questions about Grant, about the orchard, about the past 40 years of my life that now seemed like an elaborate lie. "We found evidence in his office," Detective Morris said, sliding photos across the desk. "Records of his previous wives, offshore accounts, detailed plans for today." She paused. "And this?" The last photo showed a handwritten list. My name, Aurora's name, times, dates, insurance policy numbers. And at the bottom, in Grant's precise handwriting, "Backup plan. Lila knows what to do." My blood ran cold. "Where's Lila now? That's what concerns us." Morris leaned forward. "She withdrew $50,000 yesterday morning. And she has legal custody of Aurora." A commotion erupted in the hallway. Caleb burst in, his face ashen. "They found Dad's body. And Mom." He glanced at Aurora before lowering his voice. "Lila just emptied our accounts. She's gone." Aurora stirred, blinking in the harsh fluorescent light. "When can we go home?" "Home." The word hit me like a physical blow. The orchard wasn't just property. It was Aurora's sanctuary, her inheritance. And now it was evidence in a federal investigation. "Mrs. Harper," Morris said gently, "given the scope of the money laundering, the property will be seized, including the orchard." "But it's harvest season," I protested weakly. "The workers, the contracts." "Mom." Caleb's voice cracked. "There's more. The insurance company called. Since what happened, they're investigating all the policies. They're freezing everything." Aurora sat up, suddenly alert. "Are we poor now?" The simple question shattered what remained of my composure. I pulled her close, breathing in the lingering scent of lake water and sunshine. "No, sweetheart. We have something better than money. We have each other." But later that night, in Miriam's guest room, the full weight of our situation crushed me. Aurora finally slept, but I couldn't stop seeing Grant's face as he fell. Couldn't stop wondering if I could have prevented all of this years ago if I'd just paid more attention. My phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. A photo appeared, Lila, at what looked like an airport, with Aurora's passport in her hand. The message read, "Insurance policy or custody papers, your choice. Meet tomorrow noon at the lake house. Come alone." I deleted the message before Caleb could see it. He sat slumped in Miriam's armchair, staring at his wedding ring. "I should have known," he whispered. "All those late-night meetings, the mysterious deposits. Dad made me think I was saving the family, but I was just helping him set up his next victims." "You were protecting your daughter," I said, but the words felt hollow. "Was I?" He looked up, his eyes red. Or was I just too much of a coward to stand up to him? Dawn crept in, painting Miriam's walls the same gold as the orchard at harvest time. I watched Aurora sleep, thinking of all the autumn mornings she'd spent in those trees, of her laughter echoing across the lake that had almost claimed us both. I couldn't let her lose everything. Not her home, not her future, not her faith in family. The lake house key was still in my pocket, heavy as guilt. Lila wanted to negotiate? Fine. But this time, I wouldn't be fighting just for survival. This time, I'd be fighting for Aurora's soul. And God help anyone who tried to stop me. The lake house stood silent in the noon sun, its windows reflecting the water like blind eyes. I parked beside Lila's rental car, noticing the packed suitcases in the back seat. My phone buzzed, Caleb asking where I was. I turned it off. Inside, Lila sat at the kitchen table, Aurora's passport laid out like a playing card. She didn't look up when I entered. "Grant taught me everything," she said quietly. "How to move money, create paper trails, set up accounts. He promised me a way out." "Where's Aurora?" "Safe. Upstairs watching TV." Lila's manicured nail tapped the passport. "Did you know Grant had a contingency plan? If anything went wrong, I was supposed to take Aurora and disappear. He called it preserving the bloodline. You're not taking her anywhere." "No." She finally met my eyes. "The FBI's freezing all the accounts tomorrow. The orchard's gone. Caleb's facing criminal charges. What exactly are you offering her, Evelyn? A life of poverty and shame?" Movement caught my eye, a shadow passing upstairs. "Aurora, you knew," I said. "About the other wives. About what he planned for us at the lake. I knew he'd do anything to protect what he built." Lila's voice hardened. "Just like I will. Sign custody over to me, and I'll make sure Aurora wants for nothing. Refuse." She pulled out her phone. "One call and certain documents reach the FBI. Documents that implicate you in Grant's schemes. You really think that's what matters to her? Money. It matters to everyone eventually." She stood, smoothing her expensive blouse. "Look what poverty did to Caleb, turned him into his father's puppet. I won't let that happen to Aurora." "No," a small voice said from the stairs. "You're just like Grandpa Grant. You only care about money." Aurora stood on the landing, clutching her backpack. The same one she'd worn fishing, I realized. She must have packed it at Miriam's, sensing something was wrong. "Sweetheart." Lila started forward, but Aurora backed away. "I heard you on the phone last night," Aurora said. "You told someone you were going to sell the orchard once you got rid of Grandma. But it's not yours to sell." "Aurora, please. The orchard belongs to all of us," Aurora continued, her voice stronger. "Dad told me the stories. How great-grandpa planted every tree by hand. How Grandma saved them during the drought. That's worth more than money." Lila's face twisted. "You're too young to understand." "I understand everything." Aurora descended the stairs, moving to stand beside me. "And I choose Grandma." Lila's hand shot out, grabbing Aurora's arm. I moved without thinking, decades of orchard work lending strength to my push. Lila stumbled backward, hitting the table. Her phone clattered to the floor, screen cracking. "It's over," I said, as police sirens wailed in the distance. "Caleb must have traced my car." "Let it go, Lila." She laughed, a broken sound. "Let it go. Like you let Grant go. I saw you on the boat. You could have saved him." "No," I said quietly. "He chose his path, just like you chose yours. The difference is, I choose to break the cycle." Aurora's hand slipped into mine as police cars pulled up outside. In the moment before officers burst in, I saw something shift in Lila's eyes. Not surrender, exactly, but recognition. She'd lost not because of money or power, but because she'd forgotten what truly made a family strong. Love, trust, and the courage to choose what's right, no matter the cost. Spring came early to the orchard. 6 months after everything happened, the apple trees burst into bloom, their petals drifting like snow across the newly tilled earth. Aurora and I walked between the rows, checking the grafts we'd done on the damaged trees. "Look, Grandma." She pointed to a branch where pink blossoms had emerged from a careful splice. It worked, just like your great-grandfather taught me. I touched the rough bark. Sometimes broken things just need time and care to heal. The FBI had eventually released part of the orchard back to us, after Caleb's testimony helped unravel Grant's financial web. He'd taken a plea deal, community service and restitution instead of prison time. Now he worked alongside the seasonal workers, learning the rhythms of honest labor. I spotted him near the irrigation pipes, showing a new worker how to check the pressure gauges. He looked younger somehow, the weight of deception lifted from his shoulders. "Dad's different now," Aurora said, reading my thoughts the way she always could. "He smiles more. People can change, sweetheart, if they want it badly enough." We reached the lake's edge, where Miriam waited with her famous apple pies for the workers' lunch break. The water sparkled innocently in the spring sun, but Aurora still wouldn't go near it. Some wounds took longer to heal than others. "I got another letter from Mom," Aurora said quietly, helping Miriam unpack the food. "She's in California. Says she's seeing a therapist. How do you feel about that?" "Okay, I guess." She arranged paper plates with careful precision. "I'm not ready to see her yet, but maybe someday." Caleb joined us, wiping sweat from his forehead. "The north section's looking good. Those heritage varietals you insisted on saving are thriving." "Your grandfather wasn't always wrong," I said. "He just forgot what really mattered along the way." A comfortable silence fell, broken only by the buzz of early bees among the blossoms. Then Aurora spoke up. "I found something in the old office. When we were cleaning," she pulled a weathered envelope from her pocket. I recognized Grant's handwriting immediately. "You don't have to read it," Caleb said quickly, but I shook my head. "No, it's time." The letter was dated the morning of the lake incident. Grant's usually precise penmanship was shaky. "Evelyn, by the time you read this, you'll know everything. The truth you discovered was only part of it. The real shame is that I lost sight of what made the orchard special. Not the money or the legacy, but the love you poured into every tree. Every harvest, every moment with our family. I thought I was protecting our future, but I was destroying it instead. The lake will claim me like it should have years ago, when I let Elizabeth drown rather than risk exposure. Perhaps that's when I truly lost my way. Take care of Aurora. She has your strength, not my weakness. Grant." I folded the letter carefully, letting it drop into the lake where it floated for a moment before sinking into the depths. "You okay, Mom?" Caleb touched my shoulder. "Yes," I said, and meant it. The past is where it belongs. We have grafts to tend. As we walked back through the orchard, Aurora skipping ahead to check her favorite trees, I thought about roots, how they can strangle or nourish, depending on how you tend them. Grant had chosen to let his roots twist into something dark, but our family tree was blooming again, stronger for having weathered the storm. The spring breeze carried the sweet scent of apple blossoms and possibility, and for the first time in months, I felt truly at peace.